Kentington Connector project installed in East Somerville, and Finance Committee reflects on history of Somerville police reforms. Welcome to our June 4th, 2021 edition of the Weekly Wire, an audio roundup of highlights from this week's articles in the Somerville Wire news service. I'm your host, John Loftus. Find the full text versions of those headlines and other Somerville Wire stories 24/7 at somervillewire.news. That's Somerville Wire, all one word, .news. Our first clip today comes from a story about the Kensington Connector project. The Kensington Underpass, now referred to as the Connector, has had its phase wave of art pieces installed to beautify the area and make it more welcoming and inviting to pedestrians who need to cross it to get from East Somerville to Assembly Square. Artist Liz LeManche has designed wayfinding art panels, including new design to the west entrance and colorful painting on columns and beams. Here she describes what she wanted her artwork to bring to the formerly darkened site.
The piece that I specifically contributed for this is sort of an archway visually, and it consists of two wooden panels that are standing up, one on either side, attached to the fencing, and then I went and painted the actual I-beam that goes across the top. So there's actually three separate components, but from across the street, it visually all ties together. So I painted the panels back in my studio and brought and installed them, and then went up on a ladder and painted the I-beam. I really like bright, saturated colors. I think they make people happy and put you in a better frame of mind. So, and also it tends to be kind of a dusty place. Sometimes it's in shadow, so I really wanted it to pop and be cheerful and noticeable. So that's why I kind of went for the blue and orange complementary contrast, and green is sort of springy, and it means go, and it means optimism, and it also agreed with the colors in Megan's work. So I think that just kind of all came together naturally. You could probably call it postmodern architecture style, because they were all about like the simple shapes and the clear entranceways.
State Representative Mike Conley has been involved in the Kensington Connector project since he entered conversations in 2017. The site is a dangerous area for pedestrians, and in 2019, Cheryl Pauline Richards was killed in the crosswalk while walking across Mystic Avenue. Mass DOT has made some safety improvements, including better defined traffic lanes and the addition of high reflective signs, which Connolly describes as both being a step in the right direction, but also not enough. In this clip, he reflects on the changes Mass DOT has made, as well as his own proposal to them. In addition, he comments on some of the problems with Mass DOT's plans, which the Somerville community has been responding to.
MassDOT has, on a few different occasions, made, I would describe as like minor but yet important changes to try to improve safety of it. And then just, this week we had the big rally with Ayanna Presley in South, where we were really drawing attention to the overall situation, which is that the sort of full-on road safety enhancement project for the entire Route 2838 intersection area is something that we had a commitment from MassDOT to begin construction within the next year. And then, of course, last month, MassDOT told us that that road safety project was going to be delayed by another year, and that an I-93 viaduct preservation project was actually going to be fast-tracked and begin construction this year. And of course, to that, I've been very vocal in impressing upon MassDOT that they need to take action to protect the lives of our residents. So at present, our entire community has been calling on MassDOT, asking them to accelerate improvements at this terribly dangerous crosswalk. One of the ideas I actually brought to MassDOT myself in the wake of the tragic hit-and-run crash that took the life of Shira Laucharoen. I went up there afterwards and was trying my best to see what suggestions could be made. And one of the things I noticed was, essentially this crosswalk is on what for automobile drivers feels like an on-ramp to I-93 South. And, automobile drivers, typically when they're on an interstate on-ramp, they're usually, thinking about gaining speed, gathering speed to sort of approach the highway, at interstate speed. And one of the things I noticed was for cars that are going coming sort of under the underpass and then looping around in front of sort of the southern side of this connector, that there really hasn't been much of a sight line because, there's fencing that runs right up to the edge of where the underpass begins. And so if someone's actually in the underpass area, they're behind two different fences that are blocking them from two different angles. So I actually said to MassDOT, could you move that fencing back so at the very least you create a sight line so that as an automobile is coming around under the highway and looping up to the on-ramp for I-93 South, they could potentially see an individual while they're in the underpass, rather than potentially just having an individual appear at the last minute out of nowhere. So they did, MassDOT has agreed to move that fencing back. They continue to make, again, sort of minor changes, but we certainly, as a community, are demanding that they get back to sort of the drawing board with all of us and commit to making major changes and doing them in the near term, not the long term.
The Somerville Wire and the Weekly Wire are a production of the Somerville News Garden Project at the Boston Institute for Nonprofit Journalism. Email us with any tips, comments, corrections, and Somerville event and announcement listings at somervillewire@bingeonline.org. That's somervillewire@binjonline.org. Have a wonderful week, Somerville.